Live again with our favorite field reporter from Canada, which is I don't know. It wasn't Justin Trudeau's fault, Clyde. It just wasn't his fault that you all have slipped into the state that you're in. Even though you're a field reporter who, for associating with me, I don't know. Are they going to throw you in jail for this? Somebody told me you're going to change your name to Clyde Do Nothing.
Well, they're hoping that I'll do nothing. That's what the Bill C-11 hopefully brings down the pipe for them. But I'm not going to stop. I'm going to keep doing what I do. And I see you're showing a video where I lost my cool. I couldn't hold it in. This was actually shot just before I left for the day. I wasn't going to shoot another video, and then I saw this footage. Just couldn't hold it in.
Well, you're such a nice person that it's funny you say that you lost your cool because it just means you laughed a little bit extra. You're very nice. You're not. I don't see you as somebody who rages. You have a very calm demeanor, which I think helps. Do you like the Princess Bride? Or no, sorry, Robin Hood Men in Tights. Have you ever seen that movie?
I have, yeah.
Okay, there's the part at the beginning where the sheriff of Rottingham comes in and tells Prince John that Robin Hood is back, and Prince John, who I think was played by Jon Stewart, is like, I can't handle any more bad news. I had a good night's sleep and a good BM, and I don't want any more bad news. And the sheriff of Rottingham is like, okay, I'll just tell you the bad news in a good way. And then he just laughs through the whole thing about how Robin Hood's back and he's going to kill them all, and it's going to be terrible. And he's like, that's terrible news. Why are you laughing? He's like, well, you told me to tell you the bad news in a good way. That's how I feel like he delivered the news from Canada. You just give us the bad news in a good way.
It's a thing that you have to do. Maybe it's a coping mechanism to laugh about the things that bother you so much. We all need to laugh together because there's enough to cry about and be upset about. So it's what I bring to the table.
Okay, and yes, people on locals are saying Nottingham. No, but in Robin Hood Men in Tights, it's Rottingham. You have to go watch it. Very Monty Python-esque. Okay, tee this up for us. What are we about to watch?
So Justin Trudeau came out recently and he told everyone to their faces, straight-faced, like a complete sociopath, that he did not force anyone to get vaccinated in Canada.
Which he says we'll watch the clip in a second, but he says he just incentivized getting the vaccine in Canada.
Oh yeah, I'm sure incentivizing. Yeah, you won't be able to go to work. You won't be able to earn a living. Medical professionals are still in British Columbia can't go to work. In some of the other provinces as well. This is an ongoing effect, and I know where he gets his technicality for this. Is he's trying to say that all the mandates that most people think of were provincial, but it's not that the federal government didn't have any mandates. The federal government is in charge of our borders, and that was the big straw that broke the camel's back. Was installing the app, the phone app that you would have to use going across the border. It was known as Arrive Can. It was famously cost over $50 something million to develop. Some developers on a weekend did it and said it would cost less than $200,000. But I'm going too far into this. Basically, the federal government, they oversaw transportation in Canada. So any airplanes, trains, things like that. And it was famous quote from Justin Trudeau. It's okay. It's your choice. You don't get vaccinated, but you don't expect to be able to get on a train, get on a plane. And all of these incentives were put in to make people's lives completely miserable. So coercion, by definition, yes, is the use of force.
Right. Well, I'll show everybody because you read it in this. So let's watch real fast.
So today says that he did not force anyone to get vaccinated, and adds he knows that some people deeply disagree with him.
And all of the scientists and the medical experts and the researchers, not just in Canada, but around the world, understood that vaccination was going to be the way through this. And therefore, while not forcing anyone to get vaccinated, I chose to make sure that all the incentives and all the protections were there to encourage Canadians to get vaccinated. And that's exactly what they did. We got vaccinated to a higher level than just about any other of our peer countries. And that's why we had a less deadly pandemic than most other countries. Now, I see a lot of people nodding along with that.
That's not a nod.
But boy, oh boy, you know, the comment section on the live stream right now is exploding
Yep.
with people who are in deep, deep disagreement with everything I just said.
I like, first
And-
off, I like how he's saying that the people who were invited to sit there and watch him live are nodding in agreement, which you say is not an agreement, but let's just say they only let people who they knew were going to be nice to him in, but he recognizes the public watching at home is furious in the chat. So I do
Yeah,
funny.
throwing their breakfast at their computer is what they were doing
Yeah.
at that
He's
moment.
like, I
It's
mean, yeah, everybody who
unbelievable.
was allowed in here today, I mean, you guys all like me, but like everybody who wasn't allowed in here, who's watching the live stream, like in the back row of their home where they're forced to stay home because they have no job anymore, those people hate me. I mean, the chat right now is terrible, but okay, let's keep watching. Where's my mouse here? Okay.
we have to figure
You
out
better believe it.
how to continue to protect those people, because my job as Prime Minister is to keep people alive and keep people safe and keep democracy going, whether or not they choose to believe that's what I'm doing or not.
Let me ask you this before I get into your I'll show a little bit of your commentary too, but because I wanted you to show people in this video the definition of coercion. But what do you think
Yeah.
about his statement that as Prime Minister, it's his responsibility to keep people alive?
I don't think that's the ultimate duty of the Prime Minister of Canada. I mean, it's the job of the federal government to make sure our borders are safe. There are several things. More and more every year, governments tend to take on more and more responsibilities that aren't their purview. And most of the safety and whatnot of Canadians comes down to police, and police is a jurisdictional thing, and it's not the federal government's jurisdiction. Armies from invading armies, yeah, you would definitely want to keep us safe from that, but a bug, it's not his job.
Mm-hmm. Well, like we hear say that our rights are God-given and the government's there to just protect our rights, not to give us our rights, but they're there to make sure our rights are ensured. And they see themselves as the ones who give us the rights and can giveth and then taketh away. And if they decide that life is more important than your rights, then I think that's where they start getting these power trips. Like they can come in and just throw your rights out the window because their real job is to keep you alive, which to me, I think is not the job of the government.
Well, as we saw during the Freedom Convoy, that their biggest priority was the economy. It was economic growth with the automotive industry. That was the biggest thing that they were concerned about. So I don't know why he's worried about people's lives and livelihoods in this whole scenario.
Let's go back and watch a little bit. Whoops, I took you out. What am I doing here? Hang on.
We're all over the place. Here we go.
It's like I haven't used StreamYard before. All right, let's watch a little bit of your commentary with the coercion definition.
The word here you're looking for is coercion, the practice of persuading someone to do something by using force or threats. These weren't incentives, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. Oh my God, it's just unbelievable. Here's some videos of him showing the incentives that he had put in place.
You deserve a government that's going to continue to say, get vaccinated. And you know what? If you don't want to get vaccinated, that's your choice. But don't think you can get on a plane or a train besides vaccinated people and put them at risk.
Yes, that was coercion.
I can't tell if he thinks he's preaching. And then also, was that a Letterkenny letter jacket he was wearing? I mean, what is that?
It was a liberal party letter jacket.
Oh, okay.
The lamest of letter jackets right there.
It looked like maybe it was Letterkenny. Okay, so this is what we should get an update from you in a second about this. But now that C11 is passed, we can kiss waking anyone else up, Camille Rose says. So it's like I don't know. You guys are kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place. But let me ask you this, Clyde. What, as my baby loses it, and then I'll calm him down while you answer. What would you think if he were to agree that he did force somebody to do something? What do you think in his mind is force? Pushing you down and tying you to the ground and sticking a vaccine in your arm? I mean, how, because obviously he doesn't define force as any of the things that he just listed. So what is force, do you think, for Trudeau?
Well, I think it's this interesting concept of like relativism. And this is postmodernists really love relativism and throw this into their ideology. We saw this again going back to the Freedom Convoy when they did the Emergencies Act inquiry into the use of the Emergencies Act, which was suspending all civil liberties in Canada nationwide to take apart a protest. They defined violence because they couldn't find any violence. They defined violence as a new form of violence, just the everyday grind of hearing bad stuff from people and maybe insults or things like that. They tried to redefine it in that sense. And now he's trying to essentially redefine what force is. And well, it's a clear definition. Coercion is force.
Yeah, first off, force is in the definition of coercion, as you read, but I also just don't understand. I would love to ask him if in a scenario in his head he could think of where he is forcing someone to get vaccinated, what would that look like? Because I'm wondering, like, if he only defines it as, like I said, like he literally either has like a gun to your head or he has tied you down and he's sticking the vaccine in your arm. I just don't understand how he doesn't see it that way. But maybe we shouldn't be surprised, because it turns out we've got somebody here at home who also thinks the same way. And, what's even interesting about Fauci, who, quote, absolves himself of responsibility for COVID lockdowns. Show me a school that I shut down. I could see him saying that with his little accent, little guy. I can't make fun of little guys. My husband's 5'6". Anyway, but he says that, all he did was just give a recommendation. He gave a recommend. God, New York Post, stop showing me this commercial. I gave a public health recommendation that echoed the CDC's recommendation. People made a decision based on that, but I never criticized the people who had big decisions one way or the other, other than the fact that he said that if you criticized him, you were criticizing science. I mean,
yeah, he did say that he was science. He was Mr. Science, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So it's like, if you don't do what he says, then you're just anti-science. So, like, he didn't force anybody. He just made everybody who gets any funding from the government or any doctor that was concerned about their job or any public health official feel like they were anti-science if they didn't follow his recommendation. So I don't know.
Well, I think it's basic. It's people who know that they were in the wrong. There's wrongdoing there, weaseling their way out of it. It's no different than being in an unhealthy relationship, as was put out there and tweeted at me recently. He says how our PM sounded like in Ottawa the other day. It's called victim blaming, and it sounds like this: it's not my fault you got hurt. You just misunderstood how much I cared for you. It's your fault that you had to go, and it was your fault that I had to go to hurt and threaten you. It was for your own good.
Mm-hmm. That's so good. I had not heard of that analogy, but it's so true. Okay, on Rumble, and it's a beautiful thing to see 200 more people watching on Rumble than on YouTube. So I appreciate that from everybody watching on Rumble. Also live on ROKFIN and Locals Zone. Don't forget, you can support my Locals editorial board. I'll tell you how in a second. But we have a comment here, and thanks for the Rumble rant. As a paramedic in NS, I am still mandated to take 2 shots, even after getting pericarditis from the first shot. I hope I'm allowed to say that live on YouTube. I was still told to get a second. We haven't been able to work for 2 effing years. So yeah, and
that's Nova Scotia in Canada on the East Coast. British Columbia is still going through the same thing. They just renewed their vaccine mandate in British Columbia. They just renewed it. These are emergency measures that are still in place 3 years later. It's unbelievable.
Doesn't he say at some point in the video that you were showing with that compilation that, like, this person on Rumble having issues after the shot, still having to go get another one? Doesn't Trudeau say something about, like, okay, what if you're immunocompromised, you have these other problems and you don't want to get it? Well, you're not going to be able to go to a restaurant or the gym or something. Doesn't he say that?
So he backpedaled. I mean, originally in 2021, he was being interviewed, and he said that in Canada, we're not a country that forces vaccination. This is not something we're ever going to do. Of course, they did go that approach. They went that way with it. And then in that video where he's talking about it, he makes an acknowledgement that some people got hurt from the vaccine. That was his admission to that.
Okay, but and what does he say though? I can't remember what his.
Oh, he just said,
response to
"Oh,
that was.
some people got hurt, and it's unfortunate."
Just their lives. Okay,
Just
well,
their lives.
yeah, it's I don't know. It's really interesting. I think looking back on the last couple of years and the way Fauci has also responded similarly, I think it reconfirms for me what I thought, and I still think this too about mild industry in the news, which is the next question I want to tee up for you to think about, and that is, are the fact checkers getting on him about this, the whole forcing thing? I mean, are they fact checking him? Where's the media?
No,
Um,
and the really annoying part about the speech, and it's not in that clip, but in the longer clip of him talking about it, he talks about misinformation and disinformation, and all the people that were purveying this. The government was the biggest purveyor of it. They talked about stopping transmission. That was the main talking point for having a mandate in the first place. And we all know now that that is not something that was protected with the thing. Let's just say. So we can't.
ouchie.
I know, we got to watch
Okay.
out on YouTube, right?
I know. Yeah, I don't know what you can say on YouTube at this point. I think you can say that though. Okay. So again, thanks everybody who's watching on Locals too, and don't forget you can join my editorial board. We do a live show just for supporters on Locals once a week. Me and my arch nemesis slash buddy Bill Doris, also an XTV newsie, and everybody loves to throw tomatoes at their screen when he talks. It's almost as good as listening to Justin Trudeau. So if you like that kind of thing, you should definitely tune in. Go become a supporter. $5 a month. Go one-on-one with the most censored people on the internet, and also just a great way to support my work. I have. Oh, is this Japanese for you? I think.
私はクライドさん No, it's so small on the screen. Sorry.
I'll make it
But
bigger.
Yeah,
Hang on.
it's somebody saying
Oh.
my name is Clyde.
Hang on. It won't let me show the chat if I make it bigger.
Oh no.
Can't read it.
No. It's
Watashi wa Kuredo-san no semen no me no Tommy Coco. I can't read Japanese. Well,
that's
yes, I
tricky.
did cheat with Google as I'm only a beginner. Nice to see you again, Clyde. Hi, Jack. Okay.
Oh, nice.
Don't ever say I didn't read a super chat in Japanese. I just tried.
They have their own alphabet, you know.
Pretty good. Okay. Okay. So says they tried to redefine everything, vaccine, for instance, and that is kind of true. I mean, this whole last couple of years has been kind of a redefinition of terms of sorts, and whether that's forced as the word, what force means, or vaccine, or a few other things, and I think that's just been one of the more interesting parts of it too. But that's why I bring up the news, because I have a feeling that if it didn't go towards their confirmation bias, like I heard Justin Trudeau say something. Well, you know what? Actually, let me show the other video. Actually, you know what? Okay, before I show the other video, Clyde's got a video with a little girl basically saying that she has no sympathy for you if you didn't get the vaccine. But you're probably going to need a good glass of wine to watch it, because you're going to be so depressed by how like an 8-year-old is saying this kind of stuff. And it's just done, you know. Oh, that's the wrong one. AllisonWinePromo.com. It's done. It's done for. We're all done for, because it's not just this generation, Trudeau's generation, the generation of the wasted good hair. He's not going to just like die off and it's all going to be fine, because we've indoctrinated all these little kids. So, you know what? For in honor, actually, this is great. In honor of all the mothers who are not indoctrinating their kids, think you can't get on a bus if you didn't get the COVID vaccine, go to AllisonWinePromo.com. Get that mom in your life who's standing up for health freedom a great glass of Malbec for Mother's Day. You get high altitude, extremist altitude Malbecs. This is a great way to support my work. 50% off the wine itself, 50% off shipping. Get her the Rogue Malbec. Tell her she's a Rogue mom. Get her the one in the middle, never before imported 92-point Malbec from 8,200 feet. I ski at like 6,500 feet, 7,000 feet now over in Idaho, and the grapes work so hard to bring you this amazing wine, and way higher than where I ski. You know, it's got to be a tough life as a grape up there, right? Just as tough as being Clyde Do Something in Canada right now, trying to get all the news out with C11, we'll talk about in a second. Also, you can get a good cup of coffee. Not good. Why did I say good? Great cup of coffee. What's wrong with me? Come on. I need my coffee. Great cup of coffee. 200coffee.com/Allison. These are USDA certified organic roasts. High altitude as well. There's the espresso, which I drink almost every morning. I do a raw milk latte. It's very good. I call it my mocha amaretto. Put a little vanilla extract and some almond extract with some cocoa, raw cocoa powder. It's very good. But as you see, they have a wide variety of roasts. So go check them out. twinninjacoffee.com/Allison, AllisonWinePromo.com. All right. So I want to real fast go back to this video that I just promoted for people. Actually, wait, hang on. I need to show it with the audio. So give me 1 second here. Can you tell us what this little girl's about to say? Because it's in French.
So, well, yeah. So there is subtitles on the video, but basically, to premise this, this is during the COVID pandemic, and they bring these two children on, and they ask them, "Have you been vaccinated?" They both say they had the first dose. And then they asked, well, what would you do with the people who refused to get the vaccine? And the first boy says, I would call the police. And then the girl says, and I quote, if they don't have their vaccine, it can put a lot of people in danger. So like the government is doing right now, we have to cut things from them little by little until they submit and get vaccinated. To which the woman replies, it sounds like we have a young politician on the show.
Oh, Lord.
And they all cheer.
Well, as if that's a compliment. Okay, let's watch.
Vous autres? Oui, tous les deux, on a une seule dose. Ah oui? Puis est-ce que vous êtes d'accord, vous autres, avec la vaccination obligatoire? Oui. Oui? Oh. Ah oui, hein?
Wow. On dirait que je les ai drillés, Julie.
Oui. Puis qu'est-ce qu'on devrait faire avec les gens qui ne veulent pas se faire vacciner?
On devrait appeler la police.
Ouh,
Oui.
oui, oui.
What?
S'ils n'ont pas
Yeah.
leur vaccin, ça peut mettre beaucoup de personnes en danger. Fait que comme le gouvernement est en train de faire en ce moment, il faut leur couper petite chose à petite jusqu'à temps qu'ils se tannent et qu'ils se fassent vacciner.
En tout cas, on a des futurs politiciens.
Clapping.
Nous. Merci. Merci beaucoup à tous nos invités de ce soir.
Okay, that's got to be one of the scariest things I think I've seen in a long time.
Yeah,
That's
it's
bad.
disgusting. That's what indoctrination looks like.
Okay, I gotta say though, back when I was in TV news, like before I started waking up to a lot of this stuff, I remember going to press conferences where, like for climate change press conferences, and they would bring the kids in, like the kids that were suing the government over climate change, and I would interview them, and they'd be like, we're all gonna die and whatever, and I totally being like the ignorant, really brainwashed by the same propaganda and thinking that this was like, I don't know, somehow like kids who just really cared. I didn't sit back until towards the end of my career. Again, one of the moments that really got me like thinking that it's probably not the job for me, when I was realizing like, why are we putting these kids don't even really know what they're talking about. They're like 7 or 8 years old. They have no idea. They're just repeating. And I was able to see that in a lot of ways, like with other topics. Like I remember in 2016 when Trump was elected, my coworkers wanted to go interview kids that were crying in kindergarten over Trump getting elected, and I was like,
we're still waiting for all the celebrities from America to move up here, by the way. That
right,
never happened.
Where are they? Exactly. So I I've been there. Like I was totally in that. I don't know even what you call it, like psychosis, but I just, number one, I think I wasn't thinking critically enough about the topics themselves, issues themselves. Number two, I wasn't thinking about the fact that kids like really don't really know what they're talking about other than what their parents or the adults around them are constantly saying. I mean, they're just like parroting it. They just want to be accepted by their parents. You know what I mean? They don't, it's not like they're like she wouldn't have said that if her mom was like, if you talk about vaccines, you're going to your room and you're not having your macaroni and cheese today. She would be like, I still stand up for vaccines. Like, I think it's probably because she thinks that's a good thing and her mom's going to like.
The funny part is in that video that the woman that was there, it's assumed that that's their mother. No, that's their teacher from school.
Oh, Lord. Yeah. Anyway, so okay, well that's kind of depressing. Let's go back to the last chat one more time. I'm gonna take a couple of comments and we'll let Clyde go. Well, oh yeah, give us an update on C11. And can you re-explain for people that don't know what it is?
So C11 is the censorship bill in Canada, and that's what it's being dubbed as. It's essentially a bill that is supposed to give jurisdiction for the CRTC, which is it's basically the FCC, like in America, but the CRTC in Canada has vastly more power over the industry, and this is to promote Canadian content. It's a mercantilistic type of piece of legislation that gives them the authority to enforce a certain amount of Canadian content. Who decides what is Canadian content? Well, that board does. That board does. They decide. It's not independently decided. It's decided by them. They set the parameters, and then they're the ones who accept what's Canadian content and what isn't. Now that will be governed over the internet now. So they're not just going to be television and radio. This is going to be the internet. So they're going to be able to go in and force social media platforms to hand over the keys to the algorithm and say, we're going to recommend Canadians this.
Okay, I wanted to thank everybody who came over here per Viva's recommendation. Viva is a big fan of Clyde Do Something, and if you're a fan of Clyde Do Something, or you aren't yet, you should still go over to his YouTube channel, which I'm trying to pull up, but I will just show the big wide screen of you here. This is his video that we were playing earlier. Justin Trudeau claims he never forced anyone to get vaccinated for COVID. For some reason,
for being unequivocal.
Okay, here we go.
Vaccines are the way through.
Okay, here it is. Clyde Do Something. Go support him. Go to his channel. He's going to give you much faster updates on his channel than I'm going to give you here. Because, well, how old are your kids, Clyde? You got young kids.
I've got a 2-year-old, or he's 3 now. Holy cow. Whoa, time's flying.
Mine too. Mine's turning 3 next week.
Yeah, so 3 and 9 in a couple of weeks.
Oh, nice.
So I got 2 of them.
That's gotta be a fun age.
Oh, it's a fun age. Yeah, a girl first and then a boy. So the
Same
boys,
here.
yeah, crazy.
Who's following who? Okay, the UK has stopped recommending the shots for anyone under 75. Generally, US and Canada are still fully infected by Big Pharma. I don't know what to make of our countries, really, and how. One of the things, besides the fact that the policies are so different, is I think too, not to say the UK or Europe has like great journalism, but yeah, that's my associate producer down there. But it seems like they were allowed to be a little bit more critical. I don't know. I mean, I just don't understand. Like, it feels like I was bringing up earlier how one of my coworkers said, similar to what we just watched in that video, that he had no sympathy for anybody who didn't get the vaccine. And to me, that was basically like, as a journalist, I just don't care why you didn't get it. I'm not interested in knowing. I'm not curious. And that was, I think, the general attitude of a lot of people. So I'm curious, I guess, final question then, when we're talking about the media and Trudeau, is it why when he says he never forced anybody, and you just don't see the news saying anything like, wait a second, yes, what are you talking about? Is it just because they all agree with him, or because they're influenced by government money? Like, what do you think is the main factor for why he gets away with that, except for like you, me, Fox News Channel, and Viva, and like a couple other people?
Yeah, well, it largely has to do with the money that they have coming in. Even when it comes, so we all know CBC, the Canadian Broadcast Network, which was recently labeled as government-funded media on Twitter, which raised a big stink. They got upset. They said it's only 70% funded. So Elon Musk made it 69%, giving them the benefit of the doubt. That 1% made a big difference. But yeah, 69% funded media. But that's the CBC. So that's recognized that there's obviously an incentive there when they pay them to the tune of $1.4 billion with a B, billion dollars per year to make what it is that they make, that there's an incentive to, not bite the hand that feeds you. But that's across the board. Newspapers, every kind of publication in Canada receives a tremendous amount of funding from the federal government. And well, the funding numbers just keep going up. It was Chorus Entertainment, which owns Global News, which is one of the big, they call it independent media, was almost bankrupt. They went to the government recently with their hands out begging, we can't make enough money to do what it is that we do. Instead of letting these media conglomerates fail, which they ought to, no, they pay them to win favor. That's where most of this coverage comes from.
I still, as somebody who was in the news business, I still think the average person who is working in the newsrooms and lets this stuff slide off their shoulder, it's because they don't see it as news. Like, we see it as news because we're like, wait a second, what? And we think he should be held accountable to his policies and his words. But if you agree with his definitions, number one, and you agree with the policies, then you don't see it as news. You just see it as just another speech. And I have a feeling that probably a lot of the people working in the newsrooms agree with him. And that's why.
Yeah, so I've actually heard, I get so many letters a lot of times saying, I used to work for this company. I don't want to come forward because I still want to work in the industry. But a lot of people telling me that the sentiment is you toe the line. If you dissent, you're probably going to get cut. You won't get work. And this is the thing. So there are dissenting voices. People that were cut, people that took the principled position of just bailing, or got fired, different things. But yeah, any dissenting voice, it seems that the majority of people that I hear from that tell me that they believe things differently than the narrative, they're pushed out when they show what it is that they believe.
If the press gets any money from the government, how can they argue with a straight face that they're not a branch of the government? I guess it's just because they don't see themselves as bought off, because they're basically, by saying that they don't see themselves as paid for, what they're telling you is they agree with the government. I mean, honestly, like, I really think that it's like they're saying, no, we're saying this not because we're paid to say it. We're saying this because we believe it. I mean, and to me, that's that. You could fix a money problem. The psychological brainwashing conformity issue, that's very difficult to fix. I wish it was a money problem. I don't believe it's just a money problem. If it was, like I said, I think it would be easier to fix. Final question. Where does Clyde go for news in his area?
In my area, I mean, I go online. I go online for news, and then I talk directly to people. So many people reach out to me all the time to tell me stories about what's going on. I can get confirmations. I have lots of sources within government, within the different government agencies. I have sources on the ground in different industries. So when I hear a story, I can reach out to some of my sources. Does this sound true to you? And then, some of it is conjecture based on what I see written in the news and the media, but I'll go to every source that I could possibly get to see what kind of spin is being put on any story that goes out there. You'll have, your typical mainstream media sources, and then you'll have the, more independent sources. They'll have their different take on any given situation. And then a lot of times you can deduce what's going on there and then talk to people who are actually in that industry or in that thing to get a little bit more of a view of what's actually happening on the ground.
Does Trudeau have a background in acting?
Yeah, he was a drama teacher.
Oh, okay, that does explain
a high school
a lot.
drama teacher. Yeah.
That does explain a lot. Okay.
Yeah,
Any
overacting, like some really bad overacting.
He does act like he's trying to sell something. Like, he just comes across that way. Anyway.
Yeah, trying to sell something. All right, sell us some Schitt's Creek.
Final closing words, Clyde, before you go.
Pray for us up here in Canada.
Buy maple syrup somewhere else. Smoke them out.
Yeah, so we're doing our best. We're doing our best to fight this, but we have until basically 2025 before we can get rid of Trudeau. And Trudeau knows he's not going to be elected again. It's over for him politically. It's done. The polls are showing that it's likely going to be a conservative government next go around. We're not sure if it's going to be majority or minority. We're not sure which way that'll go, but he's ramming as much stuff through in the meantime. And this is why we saw this with the C11, which wasn't debated in the second go around in the parliament, and then was rushed through Senate, and now it's law. So pray for us and get a VPN if you're in Canada, possibly. That might help us with the C11 issue.
Final word goes to Stevie J. If they prioritize Canadian content, only hockey and moose jousting is allowed. I guess so. Thanks, Clyde.
Of course.
All right. Bye, everybody. See you next time.